guys, and welcome back to another episode. Today we take a look at one of the most iconic N64 titles that never even got a sequel, Diddy Kong Racing. This racing game was much more involved than any other racers you may have played up until this point. Diddy Kong Racing has a whole lot going for it, with its 20 different tracks, all with their own musical scores, and 3 different race modes. This wasn't just another kart racer, you also got to use airplanes and hovercrafts, and this really allows for a lot of fresh different tracks and great ideas implemented throughout your experience. On top of all that, you have a really well put together overworld that was quite stunning for its time, and still beautiful to look at and admire today. Diddy Kong Racing is put together kind of like Mario 64 or Banjo-Kazooie, where you need to clear objectives, or in this case, win races, for these balloons that act like a star or Jiggy, allowing you to open more doors and challenges as you go along. They get a lot of good use of their tracks in this game, racing for first in all 4 races, taking down the world's boss, then having to replay those 4 tracks to collect 8 coins while still getting first makes things quite a bit more interesting. Then a boss rematch, and finally a trophy race, a Grand Prix type of event that has points carrying between the races. Let's talk about the characters. It's a pretty silly and cheerful group of animals, but it's really cool that Banjo is in it, although he doesn't seem all that much like himself.
I'm Banjo! Hello!
In Conquer, you would never guess what this little innocent guy went on to do later. The concept of Diddy Kong Racing as a game always stood out to me. Like, I absolutely loved the Donkey Kong Country series, and I played Donkey Kong 64 growing up too, so it was always kind of bizarre that Donkey Kong was over there and not over here. Although Rare seemed to handle this adventure with a real chip on their shoulder, as they seemed to do back then, they really did a ton to make this game stand out, and even sounding superior when simply compared with other racers, just due to the scope of it with its different vehicles, the whole world, legitimately awesome boss races, and a seriously unique antagonist. Let's talk about the gameplay. Your handling is pretty darn quick, and you can drift with R, not in a power slide boosting type of way like with Mario Kart, but Diddy Kong's real speed enhancement mechanic is actually its speed arrows, where you need to tap A and not hold it in order for your flame to turn green and burn off in a rainbow as opposed to the purple turning gray. It's actually extremely easy and understandable to not know about this. I'm actually surprised that it says nothing about it in the manual. Isn't that kind of bizarre? Sometimes these games really wanted you to buy their strategy guide, you could just tell. You really could get through most of the races until you simply can't advance without it against Whizpig toward the very end. But you know what, we haven't even talked about our guide through all of this, an Indian Elephant Genie. They unfortunately got rid of the accent in the DS release too.
Hello, friend. Select your vehicle. Alakazoo.
You actually face off against him in between some progress points in the game. First with your cart, then your hovercraft, and finally your airplane. It's really awesome that you get to use the island in this way. It's just really creative and fun. It's simple, but really thoughtful. It's pretty funny, but exciting seeing this guy at the end of every single balloon you get. Overall, Diddy Kong Racing handles quite well, and all drive modes have their own unique feeling and really suiting levels with plenty of variety. It's fun to push the pace and shred through its courses the fastest that you can. But speaking of wanting to go as fast as you can, you know what might bum you out is how they don't even show you your time after the races during single or trophy races. Because I like to gain some sort of reference for my performance more than just a first place, it really should show you the times at the end of the race. It's also just disappointing that you'll never know how close that razor-thin margin of victory was. Or even how close you were on a loss. Like, I genuinely wish I had an answer for a few of these finishes. Having times would have enhanced these moments, no doubt. More on that, it would have been a great thing to simply display after a race, and even an optional fastest time page between the races would have been a really great and appropriate thing to have. It really reminds me of a similar feeling when Mario Kart on the Wii didn't display times. Like, what the heck is that? Why in the world wouldn't I want to know how I did and how close the race was? That's all I'm saying. I want to know beyond just the time trials. I'd like to know when I'm actually racing and playing the game. But anyway, a couple more things to mention about the racing. Aside from just trying to take straight lines and tight turns, you have item balloons out here that you could use to help. You can actually stack the same color balloons consecutively in order to build your power or ability up. The reds are missiles, the pink and yellows are a defensive shield, green is a hazard to lay, blue is a speed boost. And there are some yellow, blue, red striped balloons with a magnet power that pulls you up toward the next racer, if they're within reach. With this item stacking in mind, you may find yourself taking advantage of it, especially more and more when it feels important as the levels get progressively just a bit harder to win as you go. Although there's no penalty to retrying until you feel like you know the course or finally know your route to pick up those 8 silver coins on the second time around. Some of them definitely get pretty tricky and can take multiple attempts to get down. But it's really rewarding to feel like you're actually mastering the courses out there to make those 8 snags and still manage to get first on top of it. Anyway, when you acquire a quarter of the amulet, the bosses congratulate you in their unique yet strange voices. Again, I love that they did these boss races. Definitely better for having them, because it just felt fresh, challenging, and different, with epic music and sound effects. Don't be surprised if you need to hit retry quite a few times with some of these until you can finally get out of the gate and hit your route just right. Once you beat those 4 bosses and put your amulet together, the Whizpig Stonehead opens its mouth for what feels like could be the last level in the game, and probably was for many. You can't mess around at all when it comes to beating Whizpig. I mean, look at how precise you need to be with your drifting over boosts and also making sure you just tap your A properly multiple times in a row. It's exactly what you need to do for 3 laps straight in order to get through this. The next part of the game brings up a point. Sometimes the adventure mode of this game just doesn't always give you the best of direction on what to do next, or where something is, and fortunately with the internet, it's not that big of a deal. But you could imagine how frustrating it might be to rent this game or have it growing up without a guide and just get stuck, not by your racing skill, but because you didn't know, for example, that this cave was right through here, or that this balloon was hiding behind this tree, or that these world keys were later hidden on these levels in order to unlock more challenges and subsequently Whizpig's second and final race. I think the game would have benefited more from even a bit of direction, even if it's just a hint or more in your face with what to do next at a couple points. Because as fun as it is to fly around this pleasant island, it's not fun when you are doing it for several minutes on end, not sure where to go or what to do next, or struggling to find some hidden stuff that I'm sure plenty of players never would have figured out if it weren't for a guide. They could have used the genie in this regard, and I actually thought that they might, but I was pretty disappointed when he had no hint option or what do I do next. But anyway, Whizpig's second race is also really intense, and you're bound to get the beginning of the song stuck in your head from all of the times you'll be retrying after a rough start, with these bouncing comments and lasers just simply ruining your life. Like, I lost so many races to these things unexpectedly, and yeah, there's nothing easy about finishing Diddy Kong Racing. You definitely have to be pretty precise and dedicated to finish it off. Diddy Kong Racing is really good, it's fun to play through, has some great tracks, awesome ideas in action, plus its overworld concept is great. I do somewhat wish, as a long-term Donkey Kong Country fan, that some more tracks felt more directly inspired from some of those aspects of the DKC series, making them more unique, because there are a ton of environments to choose from there, and I felt like some of the tracks here just weren't incredibly different or memorable from each other. And the concept I'm talking about, actually, it even looks like the direction that this game's cancelled sequel was heading on the GameCube, which would have been utterly amazing and so cool, I'm sure. I hope they revive the Donkey Kong series racers concept at some point, but all I ask is that they remember to show your time when a race ends. After you beat the adventure the first time, you're even given the option to do it a second time, and I was thinking that this might be on an even higher difficulty, but it's actually just a mirror mode, and I played some of that until I at least saw a boss fight just to see that that was mirrored as well, but I don't think I'll be spending the few hours to play this game backwards after just spending about 5 hours to beat it over the course of a few days. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I look forward to seeing you on the 15th for the next 8-bit review.